Xander's boots clamped against the derelict hull with a hollow clang that echoed through his bones. The warship was massive, scarred by plasma fire, and eerily silent. For years, humanity had told stories of the Vexery, their cold logic, their ruthless efficiency. But standing here, staring at the collapsed metal ribs of their once proud flagship, Xander felt none of that. What he felt was dread. Inside, the corridors twisted like the bones of some enormous beast. Cables dangled, swaying in the faint artificial gravity, sparks leaping from broken conduits like fireflies in a haunted forest. The silence pressing on him, heavier than the vacuum outside. His AI companion, Lyra, fed calm updates into his helmet, but even she sounded uneasy. He should have turned back. Salvage work was only worth it if you lived to cash in, yet something tugged him deeper. Maybe it was greed. Credits always ran short. Maybe it was curiosity, his soldier's instincts whispering that something was still alive in here. Or maybe it was that restless part of him that had walked away from a war but couldn't stop chasing its ghosts. Then he saw it, a smear of bioluminescent blue, glowing faintly on the deck plates. Not coolant, not wiring. Blood. Fresh. Xander crouched, fingers brushing near the streak, his HUD confirming what his gut already screamed. Someone was still alive. He followed the trail, weapon drawn, his heart pounding against his ribs like a drum. The path led him through a maintenance shaft so tight his exosuit scraped with every step. And then, in the dim light of a shattered storage bay, he found her, a Vexery soldier. Not just any soldier. Her uniform bore markings of rank and special command. Sapphire skin shimmering with faint light, her wounds leaking bioluminescent trails across the floor. Even slumped against the bulkhead, disruptor pistol still in her shaking hand, her almond-shaped eyes locked on him with a mixture of defiance and exhaustion. He aimed. She did too. For a heartbeat, it was the entire war distilled into two people staring across a ruined chamber. Logic demanded he finish her. She was worth more alive than dead. But either way, she was an enemy. Instead, against every instinct, every lesson burned into him by a decade of bloodshed, he lowered his weapon and reached for his medkit. Her disruptor was still pointed at his chest, but her arm trembled hard enough that the barrel dipped with every breath. Xander didn't rush her. He knelt slowly, placing the medkit between them like a peace offering neither of them had agreed to. "You finish me, human," she said, voice strained but steady. Her accent carried a sharp elegance, like language shaped by precision, not emotion. "Do not pretend mercy." Xander raised an eyebrow. "If I wanted you dead, you wouldn't still be holding that pistol." She tried to lift it higher, but the effort sent a ripple of pain through her body. Her free hand pressed against the wound in her side, bioluminescent blood seeping through her fingers in a slow, glowing pulse. Even injured, she held herself like royalty forced into a battlefield. "I don't execute dying soldiers," he muttered, pulling out the universal med scanner, "even the blue ones." Her eyes narrowed. "We are not colors to you." He smirked. "Could have fooled my government." The scanner hummed as it hovered above her ribs, projecting a holographic layout of internal damage. Multiple hemorrhages. Collapsed respiratory chamber. 35 minutes, maybe less. Lyra's voice whispered in his comms. "Captain, treating an enemy combatant may compromise mission safety." "For once," he replied under his breath, "keep the commentary to yourself." When he readied the injector, the Vexery's grip on the disruptor tightened again. "Why help me?" Xander shrugged lightly. "Maybe I'm running low on regrets to collect." She studied him for a moment, confusion cracking through the exhaustion and pain. He injected the coagulant, and the reaction hit her fast. She grabbed his forearm with surprising force, her skin fever-warm against his suit. For a moment, he thought she might drive the pistol into his ribs, but her fingers loosened as the pain dampened. "You don't even know my name," she said weakly. "Didn't ask for it," he replied. "I'm just trying to make sure you don't bleed out on my boots." Before she could respond, the ship groaned with a low metallic shudder. Something in the distance detonated, dull, distant, but real. Lyra's voice returned, this time more urgent. "Incoming Alliance patrol. 4 minutes to scanning range." The Vexery's eyes hardened. "Now you will sell me." "Not today," he said, lifting her carefully. "I'm not in the mood to be predictable." She hesitated only once before looping an arm around his shoulders. "Terrace," she whispered. He blinked. "What?" "My name," she said, closing her eyes against the pain. "If you insist on being foolish enough to save me, at least know who you're risking your life for." He couldn't help the grin that tugged at his mouth. "Xander," he replied, "and if this gets us both killed, I'm blaming you first." Carrying Terrace through the wrecked corridors felt like holding a live grenade wrapped in silk. Every step he took, the damaged warship groaned like it resented the idea of anyone escaping it alive. His helmet light bounced across twisted beams and ruptured bulkheads, the path back to the hull breach tighter than he remembered. "You walk like gravity is optional," Terrace muttered, her voice faint but laced with irritation. "That's the gratitude? I should have left you to bleed out in style." Her arm tightened around his shoulders, either to steady herself or strangle him. He couldn't tell. Humans talk too much. "And Vexery bleed too brightly," he shot back, glancing at the faint glow smearing across his exosuit. "You're practically a distress beacon." "Then walk faster." Lyra's voice cut in through his comms. "Alliance scanners have locked onto the wreck. Patrol intercept in 2 minutes. Engines prepped for immediate departure." "Terrific," he muttered. "Any chance they're just sightseeing?" "Unlikely. Their trajectory suggests capture protocol." Terrace lifted her head slightly. "They will kill you for harboring me." Xander snorted. "They'd kill me anyway. You're just making it interesting." They reached the hull fracture, a jagged wound in the ship's side where starlight bled in. His salvage tether was still anchored nearby, line humming faintly in the vacuum. "Hold tight," he said. "I am literally doing that," she replied through clenched teeth. He launched them off the broken warship with a control boost from his thrusters. The void swallowed them in silence, the wreck shrinking behind them as a Wanderer loomed ahead, sleek, patched together, and reliable in all the ways people want. As they neared the airlock, Lyra spoke again. "Alliance vessel is hailing. They have detected your EVA signatures." "Let them hail," Xander said, cycling the outer hatch. "They can shout at the voicemail." Inside the ship, artificial gravity settled Terrace awkwardly into his arms. She tried to stand on her own but nearly crumpled. "You enjoy this," she accused. "Saving you, or watching you fail at standing?" "Both." He set her gently on a medical platform, grabbing restraints more for safety than trust. Before she could protest, alarms blared through the cockpit. "Incoming interceptors. 3 ships. Combat signatures confirmed." Terrace met his eyes, the glow of her markings dim but steady. "If you turn me over now, they may let you live." He smiked, already running for the controls. "I don't collect bounties on people who know my first name." "And if I shoot you mid-flight," she called out weakly, "then aim for the other shoulder. This one's spoken for." Engines roared to life, and the stars outside shifted as the Wanderer prepared to run, for both their lives. The Wanderer shot away from the ruined warship like it had something to prove. Xander's hands flew across the controls, coaxing every illegal upgrade and salvage thruster into overdrive. The asteroid field ahead glimmered like shattered teeth, beautiful, deadly, and exactly the kind of place sane pilots avoided. "Please tell me you're not going in there," Terrace said from the medbay doorway, one hand still pressed to her bandaged side. "Relax," he replied, not taking his eyes off the display. "I've only crashed twice in this belt." "That is not comforting." "That wasn't the goal." Lyra chimed in with far too much composure. "Alliance interceptors closing in. Their lead vessel is charging weapons." Xander pulled the ship into a narrow gap between 2 tumbling rocks the size of buildings. Metal screamed as their hull scraped just close enough to shave off the paint he hadn't bothered to finish. Terrace stumbled as the Wanderer banked sharply. "You fly like gravity owes you money." "Pilot of the year," he muttered. 3 years running. No one's alive to dispute it. A warning alarm blared as plasma fire streaked past their starboard wing. The blast illuminated the cockpit in a wash of violent light. 2 minutes until targeting lock, Lyra warned. "Lyra, prep the jump drive. Destination, Cines Nebula." "Calculating." "But Captain, odds of surviving an FTL entry from within an asteroid field." "Don't tell me the odds. Just make the tunnel." Terrace braced herself against the co-pilot's seat, studying him. You are not military anymore, yet you fly like someone with nothing to lose. He shot her a quick grin. Maybe that's because I already lost most of it. Another blast rattled the hull. Shields dipped to 60%. The Wanderer dug beneath a spinning asteroid, debris scraping across the viewport like nails on glass. Jump calculations ready, Lyra confirmed. Punch it. The stars outside stretched into blinding threads of light as the ship tore into FTL, leaving Alliance ships choking in their wake. Silence settled in the cockpit, broken only by the faint hum of the jump drive. Terrace exhaled slowly, her voice quieter now. You risked death for me again. Don't flatter yourself, he said, leaning back in the pilot's seat. I just hate being predictable. She studied him for a long moment, the faint glow of her mocking softening. Then I hope you stay unpredictable, human. He glanced at her sidelong. Xander. Her lips curved, just barely. Terrace. In case we die in the next foolish decision, I'd rather use your name correctly. The jump ended with a rough jolt that rattled every bolt in the Wanderer's frame. The Ceres Nebula unfolded outside the viewport, vast clouds of violet gas and drifting debris that shimmered with Ioni's light. Beautiful, sure, but also notorious for frying navigation systems and hiding things you'd rather not meet. Xander killed the engines and let the ship drift in a pocket of interference. The silence after the chase was always louder than the chase itself. Terrace leaned against the medbay doorway again, though she looked a little less like she might collapse. You brought us to a nebula known for swallowing ships. Yeah, isn't it peaceful? That is not the word I would use. He smirked and stood, stretching his sore shoulder. Sit. You still look like you might fall apart if someone breathes too hard. She gave him a look sharp enough to cut armor, but obeyed anyway. The medbay lights reflected off her sapphire skin, now duller from blood loss but still faintly glowing. As he checked the readout on her vitals, she fixed him with that unnervingly direct stare. You could have traded me for enough credits to live comfortably. Why didn't you? He paused, hand hovering over the scanner. You're assuming I've ever done anything comfortably. That is not an answer. He huffed. I got tired of killing people who were just following orders written by someone who's never seen a battlefield. You were dying. I had a medkit. The math wasn't complicated. She studied him, her expression unreadable. Among my people, saving an enemy binds you to them. He blinked. That a threat or a cultural heads-up? An observation, she replied. Where I come from, debts of life carry consequences. Great, he muttered. I finally do something decent, and now I'm in cosmic debt. Before she could respond, Lyra's voice cut through the intercom. Captain, new problem. Xander straightened. If another patrol found us, I'm ejecting myself. Not Alliance. Multiple signatures. Vexry design. Hunter-class frigate leading the formation. Terra sat up straighter, pain forgotten. They will track my biosignature through the nebula. Fantastic, Xander sighed. I was worried today might start making sense. She glanced at the viewport, then at him. If they board, they will kill you for aiding me. And if I kick you out to save myself, you'll haunt me in my sleep. Her lips twitched, almost humor. You would deserve it. He cracked his neck and headed for the cockpit. Strap in. Terrace. Looks like fate's not done gambling with us. She rose, slower this time but steady. Then let us not fold yet. Xander. Outside, the nebula shifted, like something vast was moving in the dark and coming straight for them.